Hi guys, Sarah from Sourdough for Beginners. It looks like my live video is just starting up. I'm really excited. So, hi, it's Sarah from Sourdough for Beginners. It looks like I'm live now. So I'm just gonna get right into it. First of all, I'm just gonna add a comment here. So I started Sourdough for Beginners last year. Our group has grown to over 1 million followers. We have over 200 videos on YouTube and 50,000 plus followers on our Facebook page, all focused on sourdough, specifically sourdough for beginners. So how can we simplify sourdough so that anybody who sees it on their page, who learns about it, is going to be able to just go ahead and figure out how to make sourdough. So making it super simple. Well, one of the natural progressions as you go through sourdough is you start to encounter things like, oh, do I need these special flours? Do I need these special tools? You know, I'm in other groups that are more advanced, more technical, more science based, and they're talking about the quality of the flour, the sturdiness of the flour, how that's affecting the water, everything else. So what my next focus on this sourdough journey is going to be is simplifying home milling for beginners. So if you guys already follow the page, then you'll know that I've just started working with a company called Nutrimill. Nutrimill is the company that is the distributor for the Bosch Universal Plus stand mixer in the States, which I have. And obviously Nutrimill, they specialize in grain mills. So they have this brand new mill. It's called the Impact. I just got it. I'm going to unbox it today and we're going to try it out for the first time ever, see if I can figure it out. But they have just released this. It went on sale, I think, November 1st, and it sold out in the first week. It has, so there's a couple of things. So on their website, they have 3 different kinds of mills. They have the Harvest Mill, which is a stone grinding mill. It's wood. It's expensive. It's well over $400 US. And it, it's aesthetically nicer, it's quieter, it's stone ground, which some people prefer, but it does smaller volumes. And then you've got your Nutrimill Classic grain mill, which is quite a lot bigger, and it is faster. So it's an impact mill similar to this one. So it's got steel paddles inside of it, and it's going to do much larger volumes. It's about $299 when it's not on sale. Right now it's on sale for $229. Plus, if you use the Sourdough for Beginners coupon code, just Sourdough for Beginners, all one word, then you get another $20 off. So it's $209 right now, which is actually a pretty good deal. And then you've got your Nutrimill Impact, which is currently on back order, but they are estimating that any orders placed in the next 2 weeks will ship first week of December. So you should have it pretty quick. It is $199, so cheap, so less expensive, and designed to do big volumes of flour. It's high speed. It's low dust, but it's bigger, so it takes up space on the counter. It's not as aesthetically pretty as the Harvest. So it really just comes down to what is going to be what you prefer, right? So what I've been doing is I know nothing about milling my own grains at all. So I've just been teaching myself as I go, and I'm just going to do milling your own flour for beginners exactly the same way I did sourdough for beginners. So today what I'm going to do is unbox this. I have some amazing wheat. So this is Red Fife. So Red Fife is a type of wheat. So one of the other things I'm going to teach you about, and if you read the description of this live, there's tons of information in there for you if you're just getting started, the initial things that you need to know. So when you go looking for wheat berries, you can go local, but there's lots online. Nutrimill has some on their website. There's some on our website. What you'll find is that there's all these different kinds. There's hard red winter wheat and hard red spring wheat, and there's white winter wheat and white spring wheat, and then there's spelt, and then there's Red Fife, and there's all these different things. So what I've done is I've started researching and talking to some of the people that I know and figured out kind of what each wheat does. So in the description of this video, you'll see it. What I'm going to do today is grind up about 500 grams of this Red Fife, and I'm going to start a new starter with it. So I'll go through how to start a starter. And then I am going to make a yeast spread today. So because I could use my regular starter with this, it would be fine. But I think I just want to go through the whole process again as a total beginner. Make a starter with this wheat, wait for it to activate, and then once it activates, start making sourdough bread with it, and go through the process of trial and error so that by the time it's all said and done, I'll have I'll be able to set up a tutorial that covers everything for a beginner and makes it so that you don't waste all kinds of grains, everything else. So the great thing about companies like Nutrimill sponsoring our group and our page and sending these things out to me is that it means I can afford to do a little bit more trial and error. A 5-pound bag of wheat could cost you anywhere between $15 to $30, right? Whereas you can go buy, regular store ground flour for much, much cheaper. So you don't want to be wasting it. Red Fife, I just want to talk about this really quickly. Red Fife is a special wheat. Believe it or not, it was actually invented or created around the corner from me, like within a couple of miles, in the early 1800s by a man named David Fife. They think that he used a combination of German, European wheats, and possibly Ukrainian wheats to create this hearty wheat that was grown here in Canada. And for almost 100 years, it was the wheat that was distributed all over North America. It was the main one. But then, technology advanced and they started being able to figure out how to make hybrid wheats to reduce the opportunity for pests to destroy it and everything else. So it kind of fell out of favor for a while. It's not even traded on the big wheat trades that we have here in North America. But lately, it's starting to come back into favor because millions and millions of people are starting to make their own bread, making sourdough, making their bread at home, working their way into getting a mill and graining their own wheat. And once they start going down that rabbit hole, they're hearing about this Red Fife. So it's quite sought after. And the neat thing is, it's actually from a couple of miles from me. So I've actually made a relationship with a local organic farmer. So he's farming Red Fife and spelt entirely organically. All of his wheat right now is winter wheat. He explained to me that when you're organic farming, if you try to do spring wheat, it's not impossible, but you get a much higher probability of weed seeds getting in there, and we don't want that. So almost all of his wheat is winter wheat. So these are all the things. If you decide to go down the milling your own wheat at home rabbit hole, these are all things that you're going to learn and all things that are quite confusing, and my goal is to try and make it easier for you. So today I'm using special wheat, but if you were to order yourself a grain mill or find one on Marketplace or whatever it is, I mean, obviously there's good deals to be had on Nutrimill. I believe in them. I like their products. I hope that you guys will use them. But get yourself a grain mill and get started. My suggestion is, if you're planning on doing it with sourdough, go with a hard red wheat. So if you look in the description, it kind of describes what the various different wheats are for. So for example, a soft white wheat is going to be for delicate breads, like croissants or delicate cookies, that sort of thing. And then as you work up all the way to the top to your hard reds and your spelts and your Red Fife, those are the sturdy wheats that are recommended for artisan breads, for the denser breads like sourdough. So the simplest way to start, and the most common wheat that's out there, and in fact the most inexpensive wheat, is a hard red wheat that you can basically get anywhere. I would suggest starting with that until you're really comfortable, and then start delving into these special ones like spelt and everything else. You can start blending them, whatever it may be. I just happen to have this because it's close by, and that's what we're going to work with today. So let's unbox this thing. So I'm just going to turn the camera a little bit so that you can see. I hope you can see it. And by the way, I'll try to keep taking a look at the comments If you have any questions as we go, ask, and we'll definitely cover them. So it comes in this really nice box. It's shipped to me fairly quickly. I'm in Canada. They don't ship to Canada. They only ship to the U.S., but they get it to me, obviously, because I've got this page. But here it is. It's big. It's not as heavy as I thought it was going to be, but it's a little bit heavy. So you open it up, and it's got just this really nice packaging. You can just tell that they care. You know what I mean? It actually tells you on the box, and I've taken pictures of all this, all the different types of things you can mill. So it says basically dry and non-oily seeds, legumes, and whole grains. So not just wheat, right? You could mill up white beans, black rice. They're saying millet. Half the stuff I don't even know what it is. But if you had a reason to mill those things, then you could. Maybe tell me in the comments why you would mill red lentils and what you do with them. I honestly don't know, but it's super interesting. Okay, so, and I did peek inside the box today, but I haven't actually taken this out at all. So you guys are seeing what I'm getting into at the same time. So it does come with a pretty extensive user guide. It tells us what it is. So it's a 1200 watt heavy duty motor. It's the stainless steel impact type of miller. So you either get stainless steel or stone ground. It's got the control knob. It can do up to 12 cups of flour. And the grain hopper can hold up to 8 cups. I'm only going to do a small amount today. I'm going to weigh out 500 grams, which is quite small. This can do up to 10 pounds, which is a lot. So it sort of explains all of the different parts and pieces that are in there to you, and it shows us how to assemble it. And it's telling us that before we use it, we should mill 2 cups of white rice and discard before milling flour for consumption in order to clean the mill of any impurities, which is smart, right? We don't want to waste our nice wheat. So I'm just going to dump some inexpensive rice into this thing and run it, and you guys will be able to hear it, and we'll see how it goes. So let's just get right into it. And then once we get this thing working, I'm going to make a starter with my wheat, and if there's time, I'm going to mix up a yeast bread today. So like I said, I'm not going to make a sourdough bread with my milled wheat today, but I am going to very soon and do a full tutorial on how to make sourdough with home milled wheat. It's very different from making your regular, or using just the regular store-bought flours. So an interesting thing about wheat, so I was lucky, like I said earlier, I was telling you that I got this these special wheat berries, this Red Fife, from a farmer around the corner, and it meant that I had the opportunity to actually talk to the farmer. Rick and I made some video at the farm and did a bit of an intro and everything else. So there's lots of tutorials coming. Make sure you're following on YouTube at Sourdough for Beginners. There's going to be a whole playlist on milling coming. I'm just going to keep working through it. But I asked the farmer, I said to him, I've heard that when you're milling your own wheat, you have to use it up really quickly. And he said, yes, that's true. So if you buy yourself, so I'll actually show you the size of the bag I bought. So I actually bought this huge bag of wheat. It's 10 kilograms, right? And I've just taken out 5 pounds just to make it easier for me to work with. But I said to him, well, can't I just take this home and mill it all in one shot and have it ready to go? And he said no, and this is why. And I'm actually totally into it, and I like it. He said you should always just mill exactly what you need and use it right then and there. Best case, though, if you want, you can mill up the week's worth. So on Sunday or whatever day it is, you can actually mill up the week's worth of flour, and it'll last in a sealed container for a week to max. But he wouldn't suggest going farther than that. So what he said is that with commercial flour, even whole wheat flour, all of those flours, what they do is they remove the bran and the germ from the wheat, which is basically where all of the nutrients are, and just mill what's left. And that's how you get a shelf-stable flour without having to add any preservatives to it. So that's why you can go and buy flour off the shelf at places like Walmart and Costco and everything else, and have it in your cupboard for months and months, and as long as nothing gets into it, it never goes bad. With this, because you've got the bran and the germ, and they're an oily, active sort of plant, what they're saying is that it will go bad. So that's one thing to know about this. So here we go. So I've got this one piece, and it's got some suction cups on the bottom, which I both love and hate. I get that it makes things stand still. And then we've got this canister apart here, and oh yeah, so this is a neat thing too. So it actually nests together. I saw this before. Push to lock. Okay, unlock. So what this does, hang on a second, press down on ribbed end of canister latch, it says, okay, like this. And then pull on the latch to unlock the lid. Lift the lid while pressing down gently on the lid. Oh, okay. So you got to put your thumb here on this edge and pull up. And then what happens is inside of here, everything nests together. So your cord and your hopper, where you put the stuff in that you're going to mill, goes on top. So I'm going to follow their instructions and get this all set up. And I'm going to put a couple of cups of rice through it and discard it in order to clean it out, just like they suggested. So let's see how this works. So this says, okay, so it's got like a chute here, and you can see how it kind of lines up with the chute on the side. Of course, I'm not following the instructions. I'm just trying to figure it out as I go. But let's see here. What to mill? Mill any. Okay, so flat edge aligns with side of mill. Large tab, small tab. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we've got our hopper on, and we're going to grab a bit of rice. So I'm just going to pour this in. They said about 2 cups. I don't know, that's probably close to 2 cups. But maybe let's just be safe and put some of this in too to clean it out. All right, there we go. So we've got some white rice, and we are going to run that through shortly. But first, let's set up the rest of the machine. So put this away. This is going to get recycled. Okay, so this goes here like this. Okay. So we're moving the canister. So I think what we want to do is put this on. Maybe we'll get our instructions out now just to make sure that we do this properly. So lid, latch, hopper, cyclo cup for optimum airflow. That's already in there. How to mill. So plug the mill into an outlet. So we're just going to undo our plug here and get it plugged into the wall. Here we go. So we'll put this here, and where does it plug in? So it goes in underneath here somewhere. Oh yes, I see it. Here we go. So we're going to put this in like this. I probably shouldn't have put that rice in yet. I got ahead of myself, but that's okay. This is how we do things. Okay, so this. Oh yeah, that was easy. I was just doing it weird. Okay, so we've got our plug in. We're ready to plug that in. We've got our hopper on. So now what we need to do is get our lid back on our canister. And that, I don't know why, but I'm finding that part difficult. Oh, here we go. Okay, so there's like this spot right here where you kind of slide it under. And it sort of sets in, and then you can push on this and it locks it, and then there's this hole, and that slides onto here and clicks, right? Okay, good. Now, do I need plug the mill in, fill the hopper, turn the power knob clockwise to power on? Okay, let's give it a try then. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, we gotta plug it in. Plug it in, Sarah. Okay, are we ready? Here goes. So as I was looking, there's actually this cool thing here. So it's called a feed rate. So depending on what grain you're using, you're going to determine your feed rate, whether you want fine flour or coarse flour. So you have some control here. Now, I don't know if this is actually doing anything. I'm not sure if I, let's see here. So we push down on here, we slide this out, and then let's see if anything's going in here or if I did something wrong. Because, yeah, I'm not really getting very, I've got some coming, so that's okay. I wonder what's happening here. That seems okay. So we'll put this on. And then this goes in here. This goes on there. Push to lock. Slide this on. Okay, that's clicked in. And then, oh, I see. This has to lock. Okay, so we turn this to lock it. And on the side, it shows you the lines of how much you've got here. So now let's try. Doesn't seem to be going super fast, so I'm not totally sure what I could do differently, but let's unplug this just so nothing weird happens and take some of this rice out of here. I'm going to end up making a mess, but it kind of, I mean, did I make it clogged? Interesting. Well, this is the fun of an unboxing, is all sorts of fun things could happen. So let's just take this off and see if we're getting anything in here. What am I doing wrong, Nutrimill? If anybody has used this before, because I am getting like the tiniest little amount of flour. But if you've used this before, let me just get in here. So Joyce says, it'd be nice if Terry hadn't removed me for no reason and without an explanation. Hi, Joyce. I'm not sure what happened, but send me a message and we'll get it sorted out. And Barb says, feel free to PM me or Sarah. Thanks, Barb. That's really great. Okay, let's see. Curious to know if it's harder with whole milled wheat. Barb, I think it is going to be harder. I think it's going to be a little bit different. But right now, I'm having a little bit of trouble figuring out how to get this thing to go. So let's just try emptying this out and see if I missed something here. Let's see. So let's make sure there's no rice in here. Okay, so let's do this step by step. Step one, Step 2, removing lid. This is all removing. So let's get this in here. Because the way I understood it, this is supposed to just be fast. So let's see what happens. So now this clicks in. All right, that's in. Now, if we dump this in here, let's just clean this out for a minute. Like this. Okay, so we've got our hopper. And there's a big side and a small side. So we're going to put the big side on. And then we're going to try and turn it to lock it. So let's see. So this goes in. There we go. So that's locked. Okay. Now let's add this rice. Maybe we did it differently. Let's put this in. Okay, let's try now. So I'm not sure what's happening here, if it's milling or if it's not milling, but let's take a look. I don't have a ton of heat coming off, so that's good. So let's unplug this. I just like to unplug things to be safe. And let's turn this to release it and dump it in here. Okay, so this time I don't have rice all sort of piled up in there. Now I did notice that when I turned it all the way on that something interesting sounds happened. So let's see. Oh, okay, cool. So I'm starting to get some flour in there. I hope you can see that. So this is rice flour. Wow, it feels so fine and nice. Wow, I really like it. Okay, so let's try and get, so it is working now. So I think what I need to do is, okay, so number one, you need to make sure that you have the hopper installed properly, which the first time I turned it on, I don't think I had turned it to lock it. And then number two, you need to make sure that you choose the right speed for what you're doing. So let's put this in and turn that to lock it. So it's locked now. And then lock our lid on. So it can go like this somehow. Oh, I see. Backwards. Silly Sarah. Okay. And then that goes down and we lock it. And then here, put that in. Okay, so now let's dump this in and let's go really high right from the get-go. Oh yeah, plug it in, Sarah. Trying to be safe, but here we go. Oh, it's going now. So all these stickers that are on here come off. I'm just not taking the time to do it. I'm not worried about it too much today because I just want to do this live and see if we can get some wheat made and create a starter and maybe mix up a loaf of yeast bread. But it looks like, let's see here. So if I turn this way. So it seems to me that down at the bottom, well, I do definitely like to wait till it's fully powered down, but we got some of the rice to go through. There's still a little bit left over, which seems kind of weird to me, but let's pop that out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wipe this down and try to do some of our wheat and see what happens. So I'm going to measure out 500 grams of our wheat and then see what happens. Okay, so what do we got? So we have this really crazy rice flour. Like it's really cool. A little bit warm. I didn't expect to get some warmth in there. But let's just pour this in here. And just little bits that collect on top. Not exactly sure how that happens, but let's see. Dump that down. Home milling for beginners. As you can tell, one of the fun things about my lives with these machines is that I for real open them without having looked at them before, and we all get to figure it out as we go. Okay, so it's said to put 2 cups of rice through the machine to sort of clean it out, which we've done, and I'm just going to quickly wipe this down like this. Wipe down in here. I'm going to wipe down in my bowl. Here we go. There. Beauty. Beautiful. Okay. So, there we go. Now, let's just take a look at this. Cool. So it's got this filter system on it that makes it so that you don't get all kinds of crazy dust when you're making your flour. I guess that's an issue that can arise. So let's put our machine back together like this. Lock that in. Wipe this down. I think it's definitely going to be a good idea to use like a damp cloth to clean your machine. So we'll click that in, lock that, and then get our hopper on like this. So it goes big side like this and then turn to lock. So that's good. And then what I'm going to do is measure out 500 grams of of my Red Fife, because if I look at my phone, the recipe, I'm going to try and use 50 grams for a starter, and then I'm going to use 450 grams for some yeast bread. So let's just try and get 50 grams in here. Let's see what 50 grams looks like. So a handful is about 58, 60. So if I use this, so we'll go up to 500 grams. There we go. We love this wheat. It's so cool. Now, the farmer did mention, because this is organic and hand processed and everything else, I got to watch for rocks. So apparently there's like a possibility that there could be tiny little rocks in here. He said it's a very low possibility, but it's a possibility that exists. So I have to watch for those. Obviously, we don't want those going through our grain mill. So here we go. Okay, so that is exactly 500 grams. So it'll be interesting to see after we're done if we still end up with 500 grams of wheat, or if there's some like loss. And you know, these are the little things that we're going to try and learn so that we can confidently teach beginners who want to use it. So I'm going to plug my mill in, and I'm going to look here on the back. It says flour texture. So medium is wheat. So the feed rate is 2 to 3 for fine, or 4+ for coarse. Now it says here, let's see, so our control knob is 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it goes, so we turn to the right, and it's funny because there's not any numbers here, but apparently it's just 1, 2, 3. So this is saying if I want fine ground flour from my grains, then what I need to look for is a 2 to a 3. So I'm just going to get this wheat in here. Beautiful Red Fife from around the corner. Like the David Fife line is actually a road that we drive on here all the time. So it's an interesting thing that this specific type of flour is becoming, you know, super popular and well known because of all these people who are starting to mill their own wheat and make their own bread and learn sourdough and everything else. And it just so happens that me, the sourdough for beginners girl, the one who's out here trying to teach all the newbies, just happens to have one of the most famous wheats just around the corner. So I think that's pretty interesting. Now, I just want to look through this, make sure there's nothing in here that I don't want, because it is organic. It is from a local farm. So, and by the way, you can really see, like, if something's different. I wonder if you guys can see. So here, here's the wheat. Like, it's just beautiful. It's nice, right? So if there's something in here that doesn't belong, which can totally happen with organic, you can see it right away. And I don't think with these grains it hurts anything to try and look at it. Okay, let's see if this works. So I'm going to go to 3. It's going through. Guys, that went through so easy. I don't know why they tell us to start off with rice to clean the machine off at first, because the rice was just giving me such a problem, but the wheat just went through so easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to re-weigh this and see if I had any loss in milling this. And like I said, I'm always just going to mill the amount that I need. That's what I'm always going to do, because then I know it's fresh, and you know, I've been told that germ can, that the fresh germs in the wheat can absolutely go rotten. So you know, you get this amazing health benefits that are in the germ, but the trade-off is that it's not shelf stable for very long. So I'm going to put this bowl on my scale, and I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to put, so we push here, and we pull this out, and then we unlock and lift this off. There we go. Oh, guys, it's so beautiful. It looks amazing. Okay, I'm going to show this to you. Wow. And this, I can smell it. It smells so strong. Oh, wow, I wasn't expecting this. Okay. It's so beautiful. It's all over my hands, too, by the way. I've got it all over my hands. But the machine just went through that 500 grams of wheat, no problem. Look how amazing it is. Now, it is quite warm. So the mill is creating some heat. Wow. Like, if you just look at this, like, you can see the flour and the germ that's in it. So I'm going to turn on my scale and see if I still stayed close to 500 grams, or if we need to like put extra wheat in there to account for like the bits of wheat that sort of end up, you know, in the machine and on the sidewalls. But guys, I'm already at 495 grams, 96 grams. And I can just sort of do this. So one of the things that they're talking about with this impact that makes it so great, I mean, number one, it's inexpensive, right? They've managed to source the materials to create this grain and reduce the price. You know, not that long ago, it was really standard for a grain mill to cost hundreds of dollars if you wanted a good one that could do lots. But not only that, this one can do up to 12 cups at a time. It can hold 8 cups in the hopper. They've made it so that it's super efficient, so that there's not dust going everywhere, anything else. So 498 grams. So I milled 500 grams. I got 498. I'm sure if I was a tidier human, I would have got my full 500 grams. So lesson number 1, I can say that you can actually mill the amount that you need. So what I'm going to do now is start a starter, a brand new starter. So if you're new to sourdough completely, if you're watching this live and you're like, what the heck is she talking about? I was just thinking about making some bread. Well, the first thing you need in order to make sourdough is a starter, right? So I'm going to make a brand new starter. Now I obviously have lots of my own starter in the fridge, but it's made just from bleached all-purpose flour, which has worked wonderfully for us. We eat sourdough bread all the time. It's been amazing for us. But now that I'm going to go on this journey, I want to really go all in. So I've got a jar. I'm going to do 50 grams of flour and 50 grams of water. So I'm just going to scoop some of my flour out here and pour it in until we get to 50 grams. Here we go. So if you want to know how to make a starter step by step, day by day, tell me in the comments, and I will I'll link our day by day, step by step starter thing. So let's see what's happening here. I haven't looked at the comments in a little bit here. Cassandra, I'm glad you're doing this video. I've been debating about buying it. Oh, I'm so glad. I love that, Cassandra. So if you watched it from the beginning, it took me a hot minute to figure out how to use it, but once I got it, it worked amazing. Like the flour, it smells good. You can see the different pieces in it. You can see the bran and the germ. You can see it's really amazing. So Cassandra wants the link for the day-by-day starter. I will get that for you. Actually, I wonder if I can do it for you right now. I wonder if I still stay live. Can you guys still see me? Because I just popped out for a minute here. Let's see here. If you can't see me, I promise I'll be right back. I'm just trying to get this one link. So here it is. Share, copy link. Okay, so let's go back here. So here is the link. By the way, guys, I have flour all over my laptop. This is hilarious. I just posted the link. So how to make a starter day by day. You can use any flour you want. Oh, good. Thanks, Barb. Perfect. So Cassandra, that's there for you. Okay, so here's day 1 of making a starter. I've got 50 grams of flour in here. I have flour all over my kitchen. This is hilarious. And I'm going to add 50 grams of water. This is just, you know, room temperature water. I say if you drink it, you can put it in your starter. If you don't drink it, then use whatever you drink. That, like, you know, if you're not drinking your water out of your tap, then you don't want it in your starter either, right? So filtered water works great. You know, spring water works great. I'm not sure if I really recommend using you know, like distilled water, because distilled water has everything cooked out of it, but any old water. So all I've done is I've taken my nice flour and I've added equal parts. Now, if you're going to do this in cups, if you want to do cups instead of grams, then you would do half a cup of flour and a quarter cup of water, or a quarter cup of flour and an eighth of a cup of water. You don't have to worry at the beginning about how much starter you have, because once it activates, it's easy to grow it. So just you do a very small amount, and all I'm going to do every day now is I'm going to discard back down to 50 grams. So tomorrow I'm going to discard half, because there's 50 grams of water and 50 grams of flour. But after that, I'm going to discard so that I have 50 grams of flour left in the starter, and then feed it 50 grams of flour, 50 grams of water. Well, now we have 150. So we say days 3 onward, we discard back down to 50 grams of flour, or of starter, and feed it every day. Somewhere between days 7 and 12, it'll just start doubling. It might double on day 2 or 3. That's what we call a false rise. That's just it sort of starting to realize, oh, we're going to ferment. This is really cool. It's not ready yet. We recommend that you don't use any of your discard, that you throw your discard away until your starter is active. People call it bad bacteria. I don't think it's going to make you sick, but it sure isn't going to taste very good. It's just err on the safe side. That's what I recommend. So there we go. So I'll post about this on the page and everything else, and hopefully update you guys. Find the time to talk about this, and we'll see how soon this takes to activate. I am actually going to see. I've got a little marker here, and today is November 15th. So let's see how long it takes to activate. So I'll feed this every day. Okay, so how am I going to use up my flour? We're almost done for the day here. If you've got any questions about the mill, ask me. If you're watching this live, ask in the comments. I'm going to check them before I leave. If you're watching this after the fact, put them in the comments. Ask, and we shall answer. I was going to use this bowl to mix some bread, but it's got my rice that they told me to make. Look at the texture of this rice flour. I've been making rice flour with our new blender. So I have this video where I tried to make rice flour with a magic bullet. It was an epic fail. It would not work. And then I got my daughter this blender. So my daughter Lexi is an athlete, like a true athlete, and so nutrition is really important for her and everything else. So she's always making protein shakes and all that stuff. So I got her this good blender. It's fantastic. It wasn't even that expensive, and it can make really good rice flour. But I will say that this mill, it's like this is like store. Like the kind of consistency that you would expect to get from the store. So that's really cool. But it's got all this sort of discarded garbage in this bowl, so I'm just going to grab a different bowl and show you what I'm going to do today. We need some warm water. So I'm just going to use this flour and whip up a quick yeast spread. I know this is sourdough for beginners, but if you're going to go through the same process and follow along with what I've done, then you might want to just do it this way. So my mill arrived, I got it out of the box, I figured out how to put it together. I struggled with it, made a couple mistakes, but eventually got it to work. I've got this beautiful flour. I already had my wheat on hand. There's lots of places you can find it. Nutrimill does sell wheat on their website, so you can get that there. And now I have started a sourdough starter, which is going to take, a week or so to activate. So for now, I'm just going to make a quick yeast spread to test out how this flour works, to give me sort of a baseline, and then I'm going to be able to explain things. So what do we expect? What do we normally expect with high quality wheats like this, with home milled wheats, or very, whole wheat, very sturdy grains? We expect them to soak up more water often. We expect them to rise faster. There's a million ways that they can just act entirely differently. So I'm just going to go through this trial and error phase so that at some point I can just confidently tell a beginner how to do it if this is the way they want to go about it. So I'm going to get my bowl on here and I'm going to pull up my recipe. My recipe calls for 450 grams of flour, 310 grams of warm water. So I just pulled some warm water from the tap, so I'm just going to pour 310 grams in here. See if that's enough. Oh yeah, we should be good. So we'll just put 310 grams in here. Perfect. And it is asking for just over 2 teaspoons of quick rise yeast. So I'm just going to go like this and sprinkle that on top. There we go. So this is quick rise yeast. With quick rise yeast, you don't have to like let it sit forever to activate or anything. It's already basically activated. And this recipe just calls for a little bit of honey. We're gonna make like a sandwich bread if we can. So I'm just gonna put this nice honey. My husband Rick found this honey. One of our daughters, two of our daughters now, do vaulting with horses, and this little farm was right down the street from where the horses were. It's all good. Ontario #1 golden honey. Pure local wildflower honey from Ennismore, Ontario, which is where I live. So I'm starting to get lots of good, lots of stuff happening here where I've got like real clean ingredients. And you know, just like a lot of people, that's what started this for me, is we were trying to make sure we were managing our diets effectively, and we realized that the single most effective thing we could remove from our diet was bread, and we loved bread, so I had to figure out an alternative, and that's how I ended up at sourdough. So I've got warm water, yeast, and honey in my bowl here. So it was 310 grams or 1 1/4 cups of warm water, 2 teaspoons of quick rise yeast, and a tablespoon of honey. I just use my tablespoon for both of them. And then I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So where's my olive oil? Here we go. So it says 2 tablespoons or 30 grams. So because I already used my tablespoon, I'm just going to use my scale here. So I'll just tailor my scale back to 0. And I'm going to get 30 grams of olive oil in here. See? Can't lift that out because it was already in. So the olive oil is going to make it so that it's a nice fluffy sandwich bread. And so is the honey. So, and you can do this with the sourdough recipe too. You could use this same recipe with sourdough starter instead of yeast, and it would work the same. It just will take a lot longer to rise. So now I'm just going to put my my new flour in, just like this. There we go. And I'm going to put a little bit of salt. It calls for about 1.5 teaspoons or 7 or 8 grams of salt. I'm used to it. You know, you can measure it out, 1.5 teaspoons. And I'm just going to mix these up. And once I get it mixed fairly well, you know what I didn't think of? I didn't think of reserving some flour for kneading. I might actually end up having to add some regular all-purpose flour to this because I forgot to keep some set aside for when I'm kneading. So just like any other normal bread, I'm just going to mix this up, and then I'm going to knead it on the counter until it comes together as a nice sort of dough. And then I'm going to let it rise for an hour or 2 because it's got quick rise yeast in it, and then I'm going to shape it into a loaf. Okay, so one thing I'm noticing right off the bat here is it's quite like wet, like almost too wet. So for this one, what I may end up having to do, because I didn't mill enough, is I'll just add some flour, some regular flour into this. So here's another thing, right? You can mill your own flour and do blends. You know what I mean? It gets quite expensive to do all of your bread from freshly milled flour, especially if you have a big family, right? And especially if you can't find some grains locally, you end up having to buy it online, and then you pay shipping. Like I was looking, like I can ship out this Red Fife anywhere. So it's like, 13 or 14 bucks for 5 pounds, which actually isn't that bad. But by the time it gets shipped, it ends up being too expensive. So Christine says, what kind of mill is it? So this is Nutrimill's new Impact Mill. So Nutrimill has 3 kinds: the Harvest Grain Mill, the Classic, and now this brand new one, Impact. As soon as you get on their website, you'll see the Impact Mill. It is on back order. They're expecting it's going to ship out on December 1st. If you look in the comments, Christine, of this live, you'll actually see there's a list of links there. Right at the top, there's a link to it, and that link actually has $20 off attached to it. Or you can just go to their website and type in the coupon code sourdough for beginners, all one word. So there we go. Let's see what else we've got. Link is in one of the first comments. Yeah. And then there we go. So I think we're good. Good. Okay, so we're caught up with questions. If you've got any questions, absolutely go ahead and ask. Okay, so I'm going to keep mixing. So I had a recipe here for a sandwich bread that called for 450 grams of flour and 310 grams of water. And I mixed that up, and I found that it was much too wet. So because I didn't mill anymore, I milled exactly 450 grams, right? We kind of want to only mill the amount of grain that we want because it's not shelf stable. It's got to be used up within a day or two. And I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be baking again for a couple of days. I've been baking like a fiend trying to test the last few recipes in the new holiday ebook. So we have a bunch of recipe books. And I just this morning released the newest one, which is all like holiday recipes. So it's all sourdough based recipes using active starter or discard. And it's got like gingerbread man, it's got challah, it's got pumpernickel, it's got shortbread. I just made the prettiest shortbread cookies yesterday. I'll show them to you. Here they are. Although all the good ones are gone, but so this is one of the recipes that's in the book. So anyhow, I've been baking like a crazy person, and we are traveling to Canada's capital, Ottawa, this weekend, which is a 3 or 4 or 5 hour trip for us, depending on if we come home all in the same day. So anyways, all of that to say that once I got this mixed up, I found that that it was quite wet. It wasn't going to be something I could knead properly. So because I hadn't milled enough of my whole wheat flour, I've added some just regular unbleached white or regular bleached white all-purpose flour to this. So it's not going to be a 100% hand-milled loaf, but it's also not sourdough. So we're just experimenting today. But all I did was I took some quick rise yeast and some honey and some warm water and some olive oil and blended those together, and then added in a little bit of salt and our home milled wheat. And now I'm just going to knead this up until it comes together into a nice ball that's not sticky anymore. So probably 6 or 7 minutes. So just keep kneading it like this. We don't want it to stick to our hand, right? So we just want to keep moving, and we can add flour as we need to. So we want to find this nice balance of, still a little bit sticky, but not too sticky. And then since this is a yeast bread, I'm going to be able to just let it rise for an hour or two, and then I'll be able to roll it up into a sandwich bread shape, put it in a bread pan, let it rise again until it's puffy, and then bake it. And then we'll be able to get our first ever taste of wheat that we milled ourselves, which is amazing. It's really, really cool. I really like this. So far, I'm enjoying it. It's, could I afford to do this if Nutrimill hadn't, sent me the mill, and if I didn't have wheat close by, so I didn't have to pay shipping? I probably could not afford to do 100% whole wheat. When I started Sourdough for Beginners, the reason I started it is because I had set out to make this better bread for my family, but we were on a mega budget. I mean, we still are on a mega budget. We are not wealthy people. And, we've got kids who play sports and are going to university and everything else. So we really have to pay attention to what we're spending. So I probably would have to ask for the grain mill as a Christmas gift. The one that I have, the Impact, it's $1.99, and then you get the $20 off with the Sourdough for Beginners code. That code, it's always there. You can use it as many times as you want, so you can go in and make multiple orders. It'll always be there. And then in regards to the wheat, I probably would not be able to sustain doing 100% whole wheat. So I think what I would end up doing is watching for whole grains to go on sale and then buying them up, and then I would probably do a blend. So I would probably still keep using my super cheap Walmart brand. I'll show you. So, just regular all-purpose flour. Bleach, you know what I mean? $10 for 22 pounds. That's what I can afford. So, I would probably get this really nice wheat and do a blend. So I would probably do 20%. I would probably do 2 loaves at a time using my level 2 artisan bread recipe, which is on the YouTube channel. So we have the beginner bread recipe, which is a lot lower hydration, meant for practicing with, and then we suggest that you move up to the level 2 hydration and sort of stick with that. So I would do that. I would do double batches at a time, and I would do 200 grams of the home milled flour and 800 grams of the inexpensive flour, so that we balanced the health benefits and the really nice flavor with being able to manage the cost. So let's see here. You need to say, oh, Linda Fava, you need to stop saying I can't listen because it's annoying. I'm sorry. I hope I don't want to be annoying, but sometimes I'm just thinking, and it is a live video, and I'm doing the best I can. I'm sorry if I ignored you or annoyed you. So here we go. I've got this nice ball of dough. I would say it's probably 80% whole grain. If you look at it, you can actually see, oh my gosh, guys, I have so much flour all over my laptop and my shirt. Look at me. That's funny. You can see the beautiful grains in there. So I did have to add some all-purpose, but it is what it is. So I'm just going to oil up this bowl just so the dough doesn't stick to it. I'm going to stick my bowl in here like this, and I'm going to cover it with some plastic wrap. I just get these cheap shower curtains off of Amazon, and I'm going to let this rise for an hour or two, shape it into a sandwich bread, put it in a loaf pan, let it rise again until it's puffy, and bake it and see if this actually works. So if there aren't any more questions, I think I'll wrap up at all. Go to the Sourdough for Beginners YouTube channel, subscribe, hit notifications, and Linda, with those videos,
I don't say nearly as much because I actually have the time to film them, so you might like those a little bit better. But very, very soon, so on that channel, if you click on playlists, I'll link that as well, you'll see that we have a playlist for starters, a playlist for beginners trying to bake bread. We've got a playlist for recipes. We call them discard recipes, but not all of them are discard recipes. And we have a playlist for shorts and everything else. And very soon, a new playlist is going to be started called Home Milling Flour for Beginners. So thank you all for being here. And if you have any questions, if you're watching this after it's live, definitely ask them. And we'll talk to you all soon. Bye for now.